Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. I'm your host, Darci Smith, also known as Career Coach Darci. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onomy. We have Rebecca with us today. I'm going to read this bio, and if I mess it up, I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Bear with me. Okay. Rebecca Rose Phillips is managing partner and wine director at Vintage Wine Eats in Studio City and Buvette in Sherman Oaks, California. She is a certified sommelier and a food junk foodie. She is an active volunteer in the wine community for groups like the LA Somm Tasting Group and the United Sommeliers Foundation, and she occasionally tastes wine for Wine and Spirits magazine Los Angeles office. You can watch her pair great wines with fast food on her Instagram and her YouTube channel, both titled Let's Talk About Wine. Rebecca, let's get down and fucking dirty.
Ooh, I love it.
Okay, where do we even start? I would love to know if you've always been a lover of wine. Like, did you know that this was your calling?
No, not at all. In fact, I stumbled upon a photo of me recently with a bottle of $2 Chuck, and I thought, wow, the tables have turned. But I've worked in restaurants forever.
Okay.
So working in restaurants, obviously, cocktails and wine is a big part of selling. And it wasn't really until like 8 years ago when I really fell down the rabbit hole and just naturally became curious. And then I bought the Wine Bible because somebody had recommended it to me, which is like this giant encyclopedia of wine information.
Is that like the wine? I just bought Wine Folly. Is that the?
It's very similar,
right?
Yeah. Those are kind of like two of the
ones you buy first
of the Bible. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so Wine Folly is like a little bit easier to read because it's very colorful and it breaks it down in a way that makes things a little bit more simple. Mm-hmm. The Wine Bible is like, it's like an encyclopedia. It's like literally everything. It's this huge book. And so I don't know why, but I was just like, this is kind of cool. I'm going to just like check this out and see, just going to go through it like page by page. And I was just like, how does this work? Like, how does this happen? And then once I scratched the surface, I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole.
Fully in
totally.
This. Yeah. Okay. So where are you from? You live in LA currently. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay.
So
how did you get out here?
Yeah. So I came to LA to act like everybody. But all through college, all through my acting career, I was always waiting tables. Mm-hmm. So as I was working in restaurants, as I was kind of getting sick of the hustle of acting, was at the same time I started managing restaurants. At the same time, I started to discover wine. So I kind of used those management training and supervising to leverage my wine education at the restaurant I was working at the time, because I realized like, oh, this is like a whole thing. And if I could be passionate about something that is a little bit more tangible, that I have a little bit more control over, that became very appealing.
Yeah. Do you find like the wine industry super, because I sometimes feel like it's really intimidating. Do you feel like, people are intimidated, or when you present them a wine, they always just say, yeah, I like it. And you have to be like, but do you really like it? Because I'm like that. I'll be like, yeah, I love it, even if I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is sort of the niche that I've found for myself, because I like what you see is what you get. I am this down to earth girl from the Midwest. Mm-hmm. So growing up, we didn't have wine on the table. It became something that I learned about as an adult. And then the reason there are sommeliers is because it's so fucking confusing. Like, so I always say like, that's the beauty of it for me, because it gives me a job.
Yeah,
but for the average consumer, it's absolutely intimidating. Yeah. And then even in the wine, like once you're even in the industry, sometimes you'll go to a tasting and people are so fucking snobby and like, there's a lot of old guard. There's a lot of old white dudes. It's a commodity, right? It's a commodity. And when you're looking at like high-priced items, there's definitely a barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. And so that's sort of the niche that I found is like, no. Like, you guys, it's just like, it's everything you do should just be sparking joy. So find some bottle that's exciting, that you like, pair it with fast food, pair it with what you eat. It doesn't have to be this like stuffy foie gras kind of thing.
Well, I love that about you too. So I know your favorite thing is tacos, and like specifically Taco Bell.
I fucking love Taco Bell.
Okay, everyone has Taco Bell. So give us, what's the best wine pairing with Taco Bell?
Okay, this is a little bit like nerdy, but there are these Chilean wines made from a grape called Pais.
Okay, can you spell that? because I wouldn't know how to look that up.
Pais, so a P-A-I-S.
Now I'm quizzing
And then
you.
from the country, I know, I'm like, shit, I hope I spelled that right. They just happen to be like really smoky and earthy, and they already have this kind of like roasted red bell pepper flavor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds like the perfect.
So it's like this kind of almost like smoky chipotle note that's already in the wine, and then you pair that with like a crunchy taco from Taco Bell.
Sign
Bomb.
me up. Yeah.
Also,
Why didn't you bring that?
I know, shit. Sangiovese, like just a nice classic Chianti with a bean burrito. Mwah. And then what else? What are some other really good ones that I've done with Taco
I would love
Bell?
to know in terms of tasting wine with food. I don't know this.
Sure,
Do
like
you-
what's the? How do you do that? How do you even
do
know
you-
what
do
goes?
You bite the food and then you like swish the wine around and it's like, okay, now you take another bite of food. Like, yeah, give us the rundown.
I think in terms of like the actual like biting, chewing, like tasting, you like don't think about it too much. Like just kind of
Have it
how
when you
you
have it.
would chug a soda with a slice of pizza, you know, like you're
Got
just
it.
looking how you normally eat a meal. But in a great wine pairing, you're looking for the wine to make the food taste better and the food to make the wine taste better.
Okay.
So it's literally going to be like what I call a flavor explosion. And certainly you'll drink some wine and you'll taste some food sometimes and you're like, yeah, I don't know, it's like it's a wine and it's a sandwich and it was okay, you know? And so it's not bad, but when you have this like synergy where it comes together, all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, like this, every time I take a sip of the wine and then I, you know, take a bite of the burger, it's like change, like there's this whole reaction that's happening and it's changing the flavors of each.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I need to go have wine and food because I'm like, I need to
Like,
like think
ooh.
about it more.
Yeah, I know, it's like
The
talking about
explosion.
it. You're like, okay, can we just try it?
Yeah. I've been going off script because I'm just like so interested in wine. But I would love to know just in terms of a sommelier and all this, like even the word is hard to say. So how do you become a sommelier? Like I know that's a very loaded question, but could anyone just become one?
Absolutely.
Is my question. Okay.
Absolutely.
Give us like this. Yeah.
So I think there's two main ways you can do it. One way is sort of like finding an educational track, finding, you know, someone that will give you an accreditation where you can say like, I'm certified, I passed a test, I did this.
You can do that online.
You can do it online and in person, and there's a few different places that the general wine community considers to be accreditations. There's the Court of Master Sommeliers, which is the track that I chose. It's very service oriented for people who are really working in restaurants. There's the WSET program, and that's a little bit more classroom oriented. So somebody who maybe is just more curious about like taking a class and learning. It's better for maybe someone who wants to write about wine or just learn about wine, as opposed to like taking a test that is going to quiz you on how to serve a table. And then there's a few others as well. And you can find them if you just Google like wine educate, you know, these things will all kind of pop up. But
Rami, if you Google how to become a sommelier, does it like give you proper?
Let's see. I had a question too. You know that movie Somm, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The process of, you know, tasting the wines and knowing the exact region and year. Can you do that?
I can. I mean, I'm not 100, you know, I'm not 10 out of 10
quizzer.
every time. Yeah, exactly. Oh, great. We happen to have
Yeah.
this blind tasting set up here.
That's wild.
But it really is just a language that you learn how to speak. It's not magic. It's not, I mean, there's certainly like, people will be like, oh, there's like these super taste, you know, these people who are just like savants that can just, you know, do it like magic.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's science and it's a language that you learn to speak, but you speak it with your nose and your senses, you know, your nose and your mouth and your taste. So when you look at wines that come from classic regions, they have characteristics, you know, a classic grape from a classic region. So it's not totally willy-nilly either. It's not like any wine for, you know, my grandpa made this random blend in our garage. Like, can you tell me what it is?
Tell me
You know,
exactly what it is.
It's going to be a Chardonnay from Burgundy. It's going to be a Riesling from, you know, from Alsace or from Germany. So they're going to only give you wines that will have characteristics that are, that really represent that place and that style.
Okay.
So once you start to study, okay, what are the general characteristics of wines from these places? It's your brain literally builds a memory bank. It's like a little filing cabinet. So, you know, we've all had that experience where you smell somebody's perfume that you used to wear in college or something, and all of a sudden you're like,
Comes
whoa, and it
back.
just like takes you
Yeah.
back. So your brain automatically starts to categorize and like put into a little filing cabinet, like, oh, this smells like this tastes like this. And once you kind of learn what those rules are, you can blindly taste a glass of wine and say, oh, this is really high acidity, so it's probably going to be a Riesling or a Sauvignon Blanc or a Chenin Blanc. And okay, well, it doesn't have the pyrazine or like the green pepper notes from a Sauvignon Blanc, so it's not going to be that. So that leaves me with Chenin Blanc and Riesling. Okay, it's got this like funky, so you just like go through
I could
the
listen to you
process,
talk all day.
and
Like,
then you get down
that.
to it. And so it's actually really fun. There's a lot of pressure and people want to perform, so it's like stressful, but
Yeah.
it actually is really fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're not curing cancer. We're tasting wine and trying to like say what it is. So.
Right. What'd you find over there, Remy?
It says that if you want to become a sommelier, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, register for an L3 sommelier course. And then you attend wine classes, take the exam, and graduate with your L3 certification. That's like the normal quick answer that shows up.
Do you know what's an L3?
It also says a minimum of 3 years is recommended.
Yeah, so I'm not sure which, does it say which company that is?
Vinology? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I feel
There's
like there's
probably
so
a lot
much
of different
information
ways.
that it's, but it's good to know. So WSET and what was
I would
yours?
say WSET and the Court of Master Sommeliers,
Okay.
or we just say like CMS. That those are probably the two most common, but there are some others as well.
And it's not like you have to go like full throttle into being a sommelier. You can literally take those and just educate yourself and like, because I think
Yes.
I might even just do that for
the
fun.
Other, I was
Like-
gonna say the other way to do it is just experience.
Right.
Like it's not curing cancer, so you don't have to have a doctorate, There are plenty of people who have worked in wine for 30, 40 years that know way more than I do and probably don't have an accreditation. So
Right.
I think going back to that movie Somm, it definitely put the wine industry on the map in a way, and there was like an influx of people who were like, oh, I want to do that, I want to try that, which is awesome. That more people who want to learn about wine, the better.
Right.
So I think that was sort of a way for people to be like, oh, it existed way before that, but there was definitely an influx at that time of people who were like, well, I want to do this, I want to learn. And so I think maybe like having that title or being able to have that like gives you
yeah.
it gives you a little.
I'm reading a book right now called Cork Dork. Have you read it?
Yes,
it
it's
is
really good.
Yeah, I wanted to recommend it. It's so good. I'm like not even halfway through it, but it's about like a journalist who decided she wanted to become a sommelier, and then she writes all about it. And I mean, you've read it. I'm just telling that everyone else. But yeah, it was so cool because obviously her writing is like amazing. And then I haven't finished it. So.
And she she did it by just like diving straight in, right? So if you wanted to, the tests are at least for the CMS, that's all I can speak on, but those tests are intense.
Yeah.
They're really, really hard. And so if you like go full on, you'll pass them, absolutely. But you have to like really dedicate time and study to it.
Right.
So yeah, anybody can do it. It's just like a matter of, do you want to sit around with flashcards learning about all of the Grand Cru vineyards of Burgundy or not,
When you go wine tasting with friends, are they always asking you your opinion? Like, because they...
Yeah, which is like a double-edged sword. Like on the one hand, it's nice that people respect what you do. And then on the other hand, like whenever my husband and I go out to eat, he's always like, the person will be like asking, he'll like look at me and be like, what do you think? And I'm like, don't ask me, ask them. They work here. Like I never want to like... negate
on that.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, ask this person.
Yeah.
But
then they give like a shit recommendation. You're like, this person knows nothing.
Okay, never mind. Ask me. No, or the big thing is like the snapshots of the wine list. So like my friends, my family.
They'll just
I'm at this
send them?
restaurant. Here's a picture of the wine list. What should I get? And if I get it in time before they order, I can usually help a little bit. But that's the one that cracks me up. It's like, here's the wine list. What
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, now that we're friends, I'll do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I asked this to everyone, but what is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on the job or in like a work setting?
So it used to be when I was a hostess or even as a manager, and you're like, oh, hey, a party of 3, perfect, follow me right this way. And then I would like turn and promptly walk into something, and they're all like staring at you. And then you're like,
trying to play it off.
Yeah, but I would say the most embarrassing thing happened to me recently. We had a big wine tasting with a really famous winemaker, and there were a lot of people there. And people have been parking in our parking lot that's like in the back through this little alley, and they're not supposed to. And it's like been this like ongoing thing, and I've been very disgruntled about it. And someone told me that it was a convoluted situation, but someone said, oh yeah, somebody parked in this spot after I was trying to hold it for somebody who was attending the event. And they were like, yeah. And then they got up and they walked through the alley. They didn't even come in. So I was like, fuck this. I'm towing them. I'm towing them. So I towed the car, had the car towed. And I'm like running around trying to get everything ready. It's like this stressful situation. Like we're doing the tasting. And then in the middle of the tasting, I said to the person who I was trying to hold the spot for, I was like, yeah, I got that fucking car towed. I was like, I'm so sick of this. And she goes, oh my God. Oh no, oh no, no, no. She's like, they're here. She's like, I don't know why they walked around through the alley. She's like, but they're here. They're in that booth over there.
Oh
So
my
I had
gosh.
to go up to them and be like, do you have a red four-door Audi?
No.
And they were like, yeah, why?
Like,
I was like,
we're
oh
having
my
it brought in,
God.
especially
Yes.
for you around
I
the
had to,
front.
like, put them in an Uber, hand them the cash, like it was like this whole mess, and it was a nightmare.
Oh no, that's definitely an embarrassing story. Thank you for that. That's a good one. Okay, so I also have to ask about money. What, like, I have no idea what like a sommelier makes. I mean, I feel like the word sommelier is hard to define because that's not the job, right? Is you can be like someone that works at a high-end restaurant as a sommelier. You can be a sommelier for your own company where you go do tastings for people, right? Like how does that differ?
It's a great question. So absolutely. And again, going back to just sort of like having that accreditation, it sort of gives you validity, and people will now trust you if you're starting your own, wine sales company or events company or that kind of thing. But it is a little confusing because yes, like, does that mean you are a floor somm? That job certainly exists. Like you said, it's going to be more at a high-end restaurant, like a Michelin tier restaurant, like these kinds of places where they can afford to have
Hire
somebody who is
specific.
dedicated just to come to your table and tell you about the wine list. Those restaurants generally are also going to have a wine list that looks like, an insane binder, because they need someone who's dedicated to that because there's so many wines to choose from. So those jobs, it's funny because in the restaurant industry, I always think about things in shifts.
Okay.
Like, I don't think about like a yearly salary. I'm like, okay, if it's a busy Saturday, you're going to make this much money, because
that's
forever,
easy.
like if you've been
Yeah.
a server or a bartender, people know it's like, oh yeah, you're like, okay, weekend shift, you make like $200, and then on a night shift. So I've actually never been a floor somm. I've been a server for years. I've been a manager who ran wine lists for a long time. And now I am a partner in 2 wine bars. So I don't know if things have changed since COVID or, like that kind of thing. But I think generally speaking, you're going to be a part of a tip pool. And you're probably, like I said, looking at like $200 on a busy night, 150. And then, so that you can kind of think of those people as wine servers. Like that's what they do. Their job is to know everything about the wine list, and their job is to find the perfect bottle for you, or glasses for you, or pairings for you. But it is kind of like a server.
And they get tipped out as
Exactly.
Like this.
Yeah. And I would say that's a generalization. I'm sure there are some places where they're salaried.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you think, like I went to a restaurant in New York and we got the specific one where the sommelier comes out and she pairs every single like food that you eat with a certain wine, and she like explains it each time.
Yes.
Like, I feel like maybe she would have like, I mean, maybe she was like a manager of,
Yeah.
and, like,
It's kind of different. And then you kind of have these, let's say like an independent restaurant structure where you're probably going to have more responsibilities than just the wine list, just because that's their budget.
Right.
It's going to be like, okay, you're the assistant general manager, or maybe you're the general manager and you do the wine list.
Yeah, but
and
like,
so in those situations, those are going to be salaried positions. I would say, just from my experience in Los Angeles right now, I would say those positions probably start at like 60,000 a year.
Okay.
And then can go up from there. If you're working at a super high end place, maybe you're closer to like 80.
makes sense. If like, how there's master sommeliers and like these like, there's names that people know. Obviously they make good money, I would assume.
For sure.
Right? They have to. Like, do they get paid to come taste certain things?
So with that, I mean, you can kind of think of it as like, so I'm a certified sommelier. I'm in the middle of studying for my advanced exam. That's coming up in April. So I've I took an exam to get into the advanced course. I took the advanced course. Now I'm going to take the actual exam. So I'm like halfway through that process. And so advanced is the 3rd level, and then Master Somm is the 4th level.
Wow.
When you do have that accreditation, it definitely comes with, you know,
Clout.
They know everything. You can kind of think of it as having like a doctorate
In
or,
wine.
you know, a master's maybe at the advanced level and then a doctorate at that level. They know fucking everything. It's crazy. I mean, their depth of knowledge is incredible. And as a result of that, they are going to be offered. There's also only like 150
there's only 100
or something in the United States.
Wow.
It says, I just looked it up, only 230 people have ever passed the Master Somm test.
Yes. And does it say how many women? I think it's
Yep.
only like 30.
It's 198 men and 32 women.
Yeah, 32 women.
All right, who's going to be next?
You're going to be 33.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, it is. I mean, it is kind of an exclusive club, right?
Makes sense.
So those jobs are going to be, I would say the minimum after you've sort of finished that, you're going to be a brand ambassador for some high-end brands, right? Maybe a champagne house is going to hire you to be their United States ambassador. And like, these are more like sales positions. But, and I would say those are probably starting at 6 figures.
The people that work at wineries, they're not considered sommeliers, right? Like I've heard people say like, I'm a sommelier, and I'm like, oh, cool. Where do you work or what do you do? And they're like, oh, I work at this winery. And I'm like, and then they like end up telling me they've never taken a test in their life and they've only had that wine at the winery. They don't know anything else about wine, but they label themselves as a sommelier because it's just an easier way to explain that they work at a winery.
Sure.
Am I right in saying like they're full of shit, or is that rude?
Well, it's just like tricky because if somebody maybe is working in a tasting room and they're pouring you wine all day and they know those wines inside and out, their understanding of winemaking is probably going to be better than mine working in a restaurant. But maybe my understanding of, you know, wines from around the world will be greater than their. So I don't, it's like apples and oranges.
Yeah, you're being nice.
It's kind of like going back. No, it's just kind of going back to the idea that like, just because you have a certification in something doesn't mean.
Right.
It's like the person who has 40 years of experience versus the person who crammed for a test for 2 years who knows more, right? Like the person with more experience. So yeah, I guess, I don't know. That's a tricky question. It's like maybe yes, but also maybe no. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like I've been to like the Safari Winery here. And like those people call themselves sommeliers. I'm like, I don't think you've ever like taken an actual course or test, but you do know this wine very well. Which
sure,
I
and
mean,
they're
fine.
serving wine, and I think the technical definition is like someone who's serving wine. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I want to work at a tasting room. I just think the social aspect of that sounds so much fun. Okay. Is there anything that you feel like people should know about being a somm? Like as we wrap up, like anything that you like when people ask you like, what do you do for work? Do you say I'm a sommelier, or does that sound pretentious? Do you just say like I'm a partner at winery? Like,
yeah,
you know?
I'm usually just like, it's funny that you say that because I always feel like I don't know how to answer that question. So I usually just say, oh, I have a couple of wine bars in the valley.
Oh, good. Yeah, that
like,
sounds great.
I have a couple of wine bars.
Yeah, but then they start going like, oh, can I come like try?
Yeah, which I'm like, yes, please do. The more business, the better.
Yeah.
But I think that you're right. The term sommelier can be confusing, but I just think that the world of wine is like any other industry. There are so many aspects to working in it. So I would just say if anybody's interested in it, just dive right in. Get Wine for Dummies is like my favorite like go-to. Let's start at the very beginning.
Cool.
It breaks it down in a really simple way. Wine Folly, which you mentioned,
I love that
is
book.
awesome. It's really
we bring
easy
it to wineries.
understand.
We look like so lame, but we bring it to wineries and we like flip through it as we're tasting. So we can like the other day I tasted one and I was like, oh, I wonder what these like are, and it said crushed gravel. And so now when I like sit, I'm like sort of like crushed gravel.
You're like, God, this wine is so gravelly.
It's so gravelly, and like I learn new things to say, but like I don't say them too loudly, but I still say them.
Yeah, so I just think jump right in, and then you'll find an aspect. I mean, there's PR and marketing, there's events, there's starting your own hosting kind of companies, there's working in a wine bar, there's working for a Disney cruise line, there's just so many jobs.
Much. Yeah.
And I think the term sommelier or maybe the certification can definitely get you in the door. But it's really like about depth of experience that is going to
Right.
at the end of the day, be the factor on how much money you make. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
But no, I think, and also just don't be like, even just saying that, like, oh, but don't say it too loud because I don't want anyone to think I'm stupid. Like, the people with the most experience sometimes say the dumbest shit ever. So like, just don't always trust your palate. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And just, don't let anybody make you feel small no matter what industry you're in.
Right.
Just like get excited and move forward and just find where it takes you.
Oh, I love that. Okay, this wasn't a question I had on here, but can you leave everyone with one red wine and like one white wine that's like you can buy at any store that you would recommend? I know that's kind of a loaded question and I'm sorry for that, but
No, okay. One red wine and one white wine that you could buy at any store. So I specialize in boutique small producers. Like that's really where I focus my list on. So,
like I'll give you my favorite.
Yeah, like
is
what's
like Dreaming Tree. Do you like the I think it's the guy, oh gosh,
Oh, you know what I like? Okay, so if I'm gonna buy, and I also, this sounds like snooty, but I like never buy wine at the grocery store because I like like I live at work and it is wine. But I would say if I was gonna go to the grocery store, the Arath Pinot.
Okay.
Erath. It's from the Willamette Valley.
Erath. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a twist off. Easy
Nice.
peasy.
Love that.
And then I love Shandong for bubbles.
Okay.
It's like $20 a bottle. I think it drinks like a little bit higher, the price point is, and it's
that's what we like.
Yeah, it's like easy, like easy bubbles.
Okay. No, that's super helpful. Thank you. All right. And lastly, we have to play Smash or Pass because it's a, crowd favorite. Okay. So it'll be quick, no context, just words, and then you can smash it or pass it.
Okay. So smash
is
I'm
good.
taking it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
In one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay. Los Angeles.
Smash.
Whiskey.
Smash.
Orange wine.
Smash.
Okay. Cabins.
Sometimes though, I will say some of them are
The orange wines.
Yeah, it's like very trendy, and some of them.
That's
really,
why I had
really
to put it
don't
on
taste
here
good.
because I was like, is it actually cool or just trendy? Like good or
Both.
trendy? Okay. So just be careful with them.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Good to know.
Trust your palate.
Yeah. Cabins.
Pass.
Oh, public pools.
Smash.
Oh, really?
I will get in a pool anywhere. I'll get in a bathtub. I just like if I can be in water.
Oh yeah, because I remember I saw on your Instagram once you like built or you made like a little kiddie pool in the
during
summer.
the pandemic. Yes, there were no public pools open. And then during the summertime, usually I do resort pass.
Oh.
And I'll work from the pool because it's sometimes hard to
What's
schedule
resort
time
pass? What does that
off.
even mean?
It's like
You can
it's like
go
Airbnb but for hotel pools.
Stop it. This
you
is the
just, like-
coolest thing you've ever said on this podcast.
Yeah,
What?
I mean it's better than the city pools, but I'll take them if
Resort
I have
pass.
to.
Okay,
yeah,
good to
resort
know.
pass, and then I'll just like book it for the day, and then I'll do like payroll from the pool, so that way
What?
it feels like a day off.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing ever. I've never heard of that. Corvettes.
Pass,
Apple Watches.
pass.
Red or white? That's not smash or pass, but sorry. Like you have to pick one.
Okay, truly, it depends on the weather and what I'm eating. But if I had to choose, gun to my head,
Yeah.
bubbles.
Have to. Bubbles. Okay. And then being a wine director, a partner in wine.
Smash,
Smash
baby.
that.
I love my job. Talking about like, maybe a corporate structure where you're like a wine director of a hotel chain or a Disney Cruises or whatever. Like that's going to be a very sort of focused job. You're just a floor somm, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, being the operational partner of two small wine bars. We're a small business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I work in wine. I taste wine all the time. I'm lucky to live in a city that has wine events going on all the time, and I'm invited to all the industry stuff. So like I'm very lucky in that way. But I fucking unclog the toilets. I'm in the kitchen sometimes. I do payroll. I do all the marketing and Instagram.
It's not like always
I
so
do
glamorous.
scheduling. No, it's fucking hard work.
Yeah.
But I love it. I really do love it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming. Can you tell everyone like where to find you social wise and obviously your wine bars?
If you want to see some more fun talk about wine
Yeah.
pairings. Let's Taco About Wine on YouTube. And then you can kind of follow my everyday wine shenanigans on my Instagram, which is the same handle. Let's Taco About Wine. And if you want to come see me in person and
That'd be
try
so
some
cool.
wines,
Yeah.
we do like 50 wines by the glass at both my wine bars. Buvette is sparkling wine focused, and we have a little speakeasy cocktail list there. It's like a proper bar. We don't really have food. We just have like a little cheese and olives and almonds. And then at Vintage, we do have a kitchen. So we do like dollar oyster nights. We do dollar burger nights on Sundays, grilled cheese night on Wednesdays.
I've been to Vintage.
I need to go to
it's
all of
so
these.
good.
And that's,
so
in, that's
excited.
in Studio City. And that's, again, like 50 wines by the glass. So you can taste anything before, anything you're curious about. It's our favorite thing to do when somebody comes in and is just like, I don't really know what I like. We're like, ooh, okay, cool.
Let's
like,
play.
That
Yeah,
would be
totally.
me.
Like that's what we like.
Yeah.
So you definitely don't need to know anything about wine to enjoy it. And we're always up to something over there. We've got All I Want for Christmas is Brunch coming up, which is a Mariah Carey themed brunch.
Oh,
We do like Riesling and hip hop nights. We're always up to shenanigans
Riesling and
over there. So
I love
yeah.
it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on Down and Dirty. It was so
Thanks for
fun to
having me.
hang out with you. And yeah, I can't wait for people. I know there's people in LA that listen, so I can't wait for them to try the wines at your place and to go follow you on all the things. So thanks again.
If you try the wines on my list, it's all smash, smash, smash.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.